Hi guys. So today is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. I finally get to host a person who I hold dearly to my heart. She's not here based off on that only, um, but I have watched this particular person mature into who she is today. So it gives me a very, very big pleasure, huge pleasure, to introduce my guest of the day, Valerie Karin Nabwire. She is the founder of Agenda. She is a young leader and she also happens to be my younger sister. I'll allow her to say a few words before I welcome you to the podcast.
Hi guys. Like she said, I'm not here on the merit that I'm her sister. I am here as the founder of Agenda, which is a charity organization that deals with children specifically. And sometimes elderly people in the community, but mostly we deal with children. Yeah.
So, without much ado, I welcome you to the Legacy Table. I'm your host, Nachasa Kimberly, and let's get this discussion rolling, okay? So, Val, I'll allow you to. I know you've already introduced yourself, but maybe we start from the standpoint of what you think about leadership and mentorship, because that's what this podcast is all about. Yeah, just give us your thoughts before we get into Q&A.
Well, about leadership, I think that it's a personal journey than it is about the people that you're leading. The people are just there to expect, which is their primary job to expect from you. But you, as a leader, are expected to deal with yourself and deal with things about you. That's why I think everyone is a leader, because everyone is dealing with things about themselves. So, yes, leadership is more personal than collective or corporate. Mentorship is also personal. It's about connecting with somebody else on very deep levels and knowing things about them and them knowing things about you and learning from each other. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you have already mentioned that you are the founder of Agenda. And before we get into that, so maybe talk about um, how our sisterhood has either collided or collaborated, or how in general it has affected your journey towards leadership and maybe your path towards mentorship as a whole.
She's the firstborn child of my mother. We have the same mother and father, but she's the firstborn child. And I would say, growing up, I was closest with her among everybody else in our family. We have done life together, I would say. I have seen her mistakes and I've watched her life, and she has shielded me from the mistakes that she made, and she has also taught me, you can do this and this and this. And she has inspired me on levels that I don't think any normal mentor would. Growing up, I would say I was privileged to be the center of her life. Even if she denies it, I assure you guys I was the center of her life. Like, I was her joy, And the point is, she loves me so much, so that she taught me how to be a leader by leading me. And that made me want to be her for somebody else. And as for mentorship, she made it personal. Although it already was, because I was her sister, you didn't have a choice. But the point is, she made it very personal. She made it her goal that my goals came to pass. And most of them have. And yeah, that's because of her.
Well, guys, I'm trying to be calm.
I don't think you're trying, but okay.
But aside from that, I do know that Agenda had like 5% to do with me. So maybe walk us through what was the birth, how did you come to give birth to Agenda, and how do you not only lead in terms of service to the community, but how do you also lead your fellow leaders? How do you incorporate all of the skills, and why did you even choose other people to lead alongside you as opposed to just leading this organization by yourself?
First of all, let the record state that Agenda was not a one-man job. The idea did not just come up, and I didn't just get the people because of my own influence. There's people who had started it before, and if they ever watch this, I want them to know that I did recognize the work. It wasn't just me who came up with the brilliant idea and I started implementing it. No. So when I did meet like-minded people, we thought it would be good for us to make this something that people put effort into. So I lead alongside other people. Every member of Agenda is a leader in their own right, meaning that they have the authority to tell me, Val, you did wrong, and I'd listen, because a leader is a servant first, then a leader. So I only lead anyone who I have served before. For me, I build relationships with anyone that I work with. And for Agenda, the whole idea of leading and serving and them being blended in together has come about. It's primarily based on the relationships we have with each other. So having relationships makes you know that so and so is like this, so they would be strong in doing this. These are their strengths, these are their weaknesses, and that takes a lot of knowing each other and knowing somebody really well. Most of the members that I originally started with were my high school classmates, and we've pushed and pushed and pushed until now we're almost 5 years old as Agenda.
Yeah. I hear you talk a lot about relationship, and I think that's something that's not really watered in terms of leadership. I feel like many people think that leadership comes by screaming and shouting and ordering people, but I see you very, very rooted in relationships. Maybe talk us through what relationships really mean, especially when it comes to the mentoring side of it. Talk about maybe a mentor or two that you have, and maybe who are you mentoring even in your journey as a leader.
I am a last born, and a lot of how I do life comes from that. The fact that I have to think as the lowest person in any given setting, be it the watchman in a building or the cook in a school. So I think of the least, and I think of what they would want, especially even in the society. The children should be the least. They have no say over what happens to them, and that gives them kind of a fear that they won't have the opportunity to achieve what they want. Rather, they'd have to give heed to whatever other people want. People, they want you to go to school and go to get a degree, a master's and a PhD, and at the end of the day you might not even know what to do with all of those things. So a relationship informs a lot of the decisions that I make. If I'm working with somebody who is very hot-tempered, having a relationship with them means that I know they're hot-tempered, and I know what to do when they're angry. I know what to do not to make them angry, which makes it easy for us to work together. As a leader, that means you have to deal with a lot of things about yourself. You have to find that maybe people who get angry easily piss me off. If they do, and most of them are people I have to work with, then I have to deal with myself before I point it out to them that, you get angry easily, that's something you need to deal with. And as a mentor, that means that you have to deal with the inner things, the deep-seated issues that no one talks about. For you to be able to get through to somebody who is going through the same things, you have to show them that there's a way out. And that way out only comes after you have found it. So you only find it by dealing with yourself.
Do you have maybe a mentor?
Well, I'm a very selective listener. And selective listener includes, I don't listen to everyone everything that they say, and that's a weakness and a strength at the same time, because some people talk and expect you to, you have to listen because I talked, and sometimes because I asked, they make it so that I have to use the advice they gave me. But for me, whatever resonates with me is what I will use. It doesn't mean just because somebody told me, many people come to me and they tell me, I think you should do this, and I listen. It's not to listen, but that doesn't mean at the end of the day that I'll do what you think. And selective listening has worked because then I can make my own decisions with a wide array of opinions. So I listen to people who listen to me. I don't have to have talked that I said, this is what I want for them to now start telling me. No. Somebody who listens, you'll know. You'll never ever feel like you're holding back anything once you sit down with them. So anybody who gives me the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, that's somebody I listen to. Because that's somebody who is speaking not to reply to what I'm saying, but from an understanding that, Val does this. And there's the homes that we have visited, there's still people from those homes who talk to me. They're like, how is Agenda doing? How are you guys doing? Is there anything you need? Do you guys want to come back and visit? And it's people like those who keep me going. And for my personal life, there's people I talk to, people who will sit me down and be like, Val, I've noticed you've been quiet of late, what's wrong? That's somebody I listen to. So yeah, I have meant.
Hey, guys. I'm learning a few things here and there. I truly, truly am. Perhaps the next question I'd ask you, because at least what is coming out like very, very clearly, apart from relationship, is the fact that you hold very steadfast to your faith. So maybe I'd ask, how is it leading from a Christian perspective, and how does that sometimes maybe clash with people who don't share the same faith as you? How do you handle it? Is it a plus? Is it a minus? And especially for young people in this day and age, would you say that faith is a good thing to have, or should people just live how they want?
Not that faith is not a good thing to have, but people should live how they want to, especially young people, because when you're young is when you have the power to make decisions. When you're older, people start asking you, you have a lot of pressure. People start asking you, when are you maybe moving out, getting a job, when are you getting married? And when you're older, there's even more pressure than when you're younger. And faith is a whole other topic. But I would say that for you to be a leader with faith, whether it's being a Muslim, a Christian, a Hindu, you have to really apply what you're learning. According to my faith, it says that my sheep hear my voice. That means that the people you're leading need to know your voice so well, to the extent that amongst many voices, they can single you out with a blindfold and say, that's my leader. And for you to become a leader with such a unique voice, you have to have your own faith. You have to be grounded in, this is, and you have to be sure of who you are. So I would say faith builds you, and it gives you all of the qualities you need. But not unless you can apply that knowledge correctly, it works against you. If you, for example, the things that you learn, you come and use them against the people you're, which now means you have to deal with yourself and make sure that you're not using it against people of a different faith. And you consider and you listen, and all that's the same. I'm sure every faith has a certain way of leadership that it teaches, and I'm sure that leadership, amongst other styles of leadership, they have common grounds. So you have to find a way of using that knowledge in the smartest way possible to your advantage, and that means that you have to be grounded enough, and you learn, and whatever you learn you apply it correctly.
Throughout this conversation, there's something that you've kept saying that I just want to dig a little bit deeper into. I'm also going to tie it to my last question before we get into, a few questions for fun. You've kept saying that as a leader, you need to deal with yourself. Maybe help our audience unpack that, especially for young people, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like much of the older generation didn't deal with a lot of themselves, which is why we have the effects that we are seeing right now. So maybe to a young person who's listening right now, what does it really mean to deal with yourself?
Dealing with yourself is, like I said, leadership is a personal journey. The thing about the word personal is that it's within. For you to be a leader, you have to first know in your heart, and in your heart of hearts, I am a leader. And knowing that you're a leader comes from, of course, getting to know yourself. Maybe I'm a good teacher, I'm a good listener, I'm a good therapist. You have to explore every side of yourself, and you need to change how you view yourself before you expect anyone else to view you. If I hear people say, I'm an introvert, I used to say I'm an introvert, and you see people building their personality around that, and they justify not being able to be social with people, and they give it names, and they say, I was born like that, I've been like that growing up, so I'm just assuming, and they give it colors, and they say, introverts are more into dark shade colors, and we're supposed to be like this and like this, and that gives people the opportunity to justify things they're not actually dealing with. But dealing with yourself means that you walk into a room full of people. This is now just an example of an introvert, and you find it hard to talk to people. Now, saying you're an introvert justifies that, and you get to sit in a corner and say, that's not my thing. But in real sense, you have a difficulty talking to people. Just say it out loud. Nobody's going to beat you and say, you should be knowing how to talk to people. It's not a must. It's okay if you don't. And I think Google and ChatGPT have given us the opportunity to learn these things, so that now you prepare. I used to say I was an introvert, but I realized, once I have just one friend, that one friend wants to get away from me because of how much I'm talking. And that means that I faced the problem. The problem was I didn't know how to talk to people. You can't say, my business is not working out because there's curses at home. No, you're just justifying that you don't know how to market yourself. If you don't know, you just walk up and say, what, I don't know how to market myself. If I did, I would have clients. The best way is through. You can't sit on the other side saying, the grass is greener there, I want to go there, and you're not ready to walk that path. You have to be ready to look in the mirror and say, I have a blemish here, and here, and here, and I need to find a way to deal with it. So you can either Google how to market yourself, how to talk to people, and you'll get friends. You're not an introvert. You just don't know how to talk to people.
She said it. I didn't. She said it.
She was also an introvert at some point.
Well, I'm no longer an introvert. We have come to the segment where I will ask you some 3 questions. They have little or nothing to do with leadership. But anyway, maybe tell us, what is your most embarrassing story as a leader?
I forget names. So I meet a lot of children. Within the span of a month, I have met like a lot of children. And sometimes, more times than I wish, I confuse their names. So not once, not twice, I have called a child a name that was not theirs and got angry that they were not responding. And even worse, some child took it as far as responding. And they were like, yes. I'm like, and then when the child told me their name, I'm like, you've just let me call you that name all this time. You're not telling me that's not your name. And the child was like, Sasa, what could I have done? It's not like you were listening. So yeah, know people's names. That's, I feel, by the way, I have learned personally that's the biggest courtesy you can do. Just know someone's name.
Okay. What is your best memory as a leader?
When we started working as Agenda together, we've had so many visits at this point, but one very memorable one was the second one. For the second one, we didn't go to a children's home. We went to a community, and there was a big turnout of children. But that wasn't the best part for me. The best part was that, you see, members of Agenda are not trained in this work. They just do it out of the goodness of their heart. So they work on instinct, they work on the skills they've been taught in school, they just work on what they already know, which is most of the time very little knowledge, especially with kids. But I watched them embrace each and every one of those kids. And I was touched. So I know, by the time we were having that second visit, I knew, like, this is how you handle a child. If you want to get to know them, do this. But the members I work with, it's not the same for them. This is new territory. And it was the second one, so they were so new to it. But I watched them, even the first one, only now, the first one didn't have as many children as the second one, which I thought was a lot of pressure on them. But the team I was working with that day, I don't think there's anything I would say like they made a mistake. They did a very good job, and I would say that's the best memory I have.
Kudos to you guys, wherever you are. Kudos to you guys. Now, this being the legacy table, I like to talk a lot about the legacy that I believe. Okay, maybe as we do a close, what does legacy mean to you, and what would you like to be known for?
I saw a post that said, unfortunately, I am, and I quote, unfortunately, I am the daughter who will do what I want. End quote. For me, legacy is, it's like a line. So, or footprints. So when you're walking, if you have, let's say in this scenario, stained shoes, dirty shoes, and you stuck in the mud for some time, and you start walking, for me, the legacy has to be a straight line. Like, it has to be so distinct that anybody can tell you this was so and so. So for me, legacy is literally just what you leave behind when you're walking away. And as for the legacy, like I said, unfortunately, I will be the daughter who will do what I want. She has given me the privilege because she does everything that our parents want. But for me, I want to be the one who travels the world, who achieves everything that she wants. Everything, when I say everything, I mean, by the time I'm being laid to rest, I have no regrets. I want to be the daughter who does what nobody expected. See, everybody always expected, the firstborn will be the academic, and she is. I, on the other hand, am not. I do not love mathematics, no science. I would rather dive into the sea. But I want to be known for following my heart. So for me, yes, I want to be the one who did what she wanted.
Wow. I don't think I want to add or take away anything that has been said. This has been one of those conversations that I will definitely look at fondly. I hope you guys have enjoyed the conversation. I will be posting their socials right here. I know on Instagram they're called Agenda Incarnate. Do you guys have a TikTok as well? Yeah, same to the TikTok. Just look for Agenda Incarnate. You'll see the wonderful things that they do. I have been your host, Nashasa Kimberly, and this is the Legacy Table. Karibuni.